Welcome back to Parent Squad. When it comes to raising kids, we've all heard it takes a village, and some of the biggest influences in our kids' lives are their teachers at school. But what happens when we as parents don't see eye to eye with their teachers? There's a disconnect. Well, our next mom knows all about this. Indianapolis Moms contributor Amanda Hauser is a mom of 8 and a former educator who is now a teacher coach. So thank you so much for being here, because I think this is a topic. This is a big part of your child's life, and we're all working together on the child's team so that they can be the best that they can be. So you actually blog about an experience with your children's teacher, and what's your advice for wanting to get involved, or you were lectured about getting involved? What was your specific experience?
This was a tough one, Felicia. We had an experience with one of our children where, like you said, I was essentially lectured for seeking some clarity on a situation. And to give you a little bit of a background from where we're coming, my husband's a former educator, former coach. I'm a former teacher. We have a long history of raising what I would think are relatively decent humans. We, as coaches and teachers, have instilled in our children a sense of self-advocacy, work ethic. They are genuinely good humans trying to do what's right in the world. So when, as a parent, you're seeking to understand a situation that's happening in the classroom a little bit better, and you are met with, you need to stay out of it, that's kind of an instant, as a parent, like a shock, because we don't come from that perspective in our family. We are really seeking to do things with our children and not for our children. Mm-hmm. So when we had this particular incident, it really made me stop and think, and hence why I wrote this particular blog. What do I do? And the first thing that I had to do was check the big emotion, because you have this human experience, right? Where if you are taken aback by something, it's very easy to be mama bear, and I just want to whip off a scathing email or call and be like, what are you doing? And you just have to kind of stop and breathe and regulate. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing I suggest when you are met with a really difficult situation, is that you want to make sure that you are responding, not reacting. And sometimes that means we need to sit on it for 24 hours. Yeah.
So let me clarify the experience. There was a conflict of something that was happening with your child at the school, and you went to get clarity, to ask more questions, to figure out what's going on, and that's when you were met with, just don't get involved, stay out of it. And so after you had your breather moment, of course, your husband probably helped talk you off the ledge, or you helped talk him off the ledge. Then what happened next with that incident? What was the resolve?
The resolve was, we ultimately had a phone conversation, and that's what I really encourage all parents to get to. It is so easy to misinterpret tone when we are exchanging or firing back emails, even text messages, or a lot of schools have like messaging systems, like we have talking points or certain group me's. So beware of tone, and a real conversation, a face-to-face conversation is always best. And to your point, yes, we took 24 hours. I did write the scathing email, but I didn't press send.
Yes.
I got it out of my system. I vented.
Yes, you do need a place to do that.
You need a place to do that, and you need a safe person to do that with. That was my husband. We had a really good conversation about, well, we are entering into a relationship with this teacher for a year. So we need to make sure that we are nurturing this relationship with that teacher, with our child. So we need to start off on a good foot. We are going to seek to understand. We are going to come at this with curiosity, not accusation. And let's follow up with a conversation in person. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, that's what we did.
Yes. And not getting too far into the details of that particular story, but what do you do when because I could see there being an instance where you do need to be over involved, and you do need to be in the scenario and figure out what's going on. And I can also see situations where a teacher could be correct, where it's like, step back, let the kids figure it out, or let them handle it, or let them problem solve themselves. There's a time to be hands-on and a time to be hands-off. How do you know which one is which?
That's hard, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
again, and I know it's a case-by-case scenario.
It is, and so I kind of call that helicopter versus bumper bowler.
Yes, there we go.
So helicopters, what do helicopters do? They hover, they're constantly right there, ready to swoop in and rescue at the first chance of danger or perceived threat.
Yes.
I think a lot of newer parents or parents who are overly involved might kind of lend toward the helicopter parent, where they just are constantly right there in the back pocket. Now, the other bumper bowler parent, I tend to be a bumper bowler parent only because it's a numbers game for me with 8 kids.
That's true.
You can't be overly involved with 8 kids, right? I used to be a helicopter parent. I was always there, and I have learned and evolved through that. So what does a bumper bowler parent do? They put up the guardrails. They say, here are our guidelines. I'm going to let you maybe bounce off the guardrails a little bit. I'm going to let you experiment. Life is all about growing and trying, but I'm going to keep you in your lane, and I'm going to keep you out of the gutter.
Yes, yes.
And if we can do that, I'm going to let you navigate the rest of that on your own. So I really encourage parents. We use the analogy at our house of Finding Nemo, like, go out and let Nemo swim.
Yes.
Live a little bit, but put up the guardrails. So be a bumper bowler parent. And then as a teacher, you are receiving all types of parents, right? In those relationships, you are receiving the ones who are constantly hovering and not allowing for any independence and growth in their child because they want to control all of the situations. So it's also really important to maintain perspective when you are receiving a parent and receiving a parent concern. What is the history here? Is this parent just trying to keep their child in their lane, or are they trying to be over involved and not allow for personal growth?
Absolutely. And it might be interesting to hear what your 8 children say about how you assess yourself, but then again, you might not want to hear 8 different opinions. Keep doing the good job. So how should you approach your child's teacher with a question or concern or otherwise?
Right. So like I said, I would always harness your power of positive intent. And by that, I mean,
I like that.
Let's assume, as a teacher, a former teacher, I know that 99.9% of educators are in this business because they are child first. They are child centered. They want what's best for children. Clearly, teachers, they're not in it for the money. They're not in it for the glory, right? So we need to assume positive intent with what's happening in the classroom. And likewise, teachers should always assume positive intent with parents. Parents who may be labeled as overbearing or hovering. Honestly, when we look at that, when we think we're working with children, we're working with people's most precious resource, the thing that is most important to them in the world. So parents are just trying to do what's best for their kids. Both sides need to harness that power.
Yes.
Of positive
That we're
intent.
all coming together to help this child for the benefit of bettering this child.
Right. So when we do that, it's not, they're out to get my kid, know, or they just don't understand me. We're going to assume the best. So that's the first thing, that we're going to assume that positive intent from the other party. The next thing would be to reach out of curiosity, not accusation. And like I said before, doing that in person. So I think clarity is kindness. When you reach out to someone in clarity, it's saying, this is what I'm receiving at home. I'm seeking to understand what's happening in the school so that we can work together to reach a solution to this. Can you help me? And then when I do reach out, I also ask for a timeline. And I give them my timeline because I think that helps get to resolution quicker. So that may look like, I'm available every day after 2 o'clock until the end of the week. When can we get on the phone and talk about X, Y, or Z?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, what if you feel like you are just at an impasse with your child's teacher, or your child is saying they just don't like me, or we just don't vibe, which is true. I mean, that's how it is in the adult world, so it would make sense that it would be in the child world, that not everybody vibes and gets along, but we have to figure out how to get along. And so what's your advice to parents to help coach their child through a scenario like that?
It really is a coaching opportunity because we have so many choices as parents, and we need to show our children that I can be in a less than ideal situation. I can work with somebody who is honestly a little bit discouraging, or this is a really disappointing situation for me. But as a parent, I can show, listen, we're in this together. I'm going to show you that we can do anything together as a team, that we can get through really adverse situations together, because like you said, the world is not perfect. We are going to meet people that we do not necessarily agree with, or the people that we may clash with our personalities, but we're going to work together. In the end, however, as a parent, you are your child's first and biggest advocate. So if after all the other avenues have been explored, you have gone through conversations, it's not working, I always remind parents that they do have choices. They may not be the choices that we really like, but they do have choices too. After talking to a teacher, they can talk to an administrator. I never encourage skipping straight to the administrator.
Yeah.
We all deserve that respect of a conversation first before we go to superiors, really seeking to understand. You can talk to an administrator. You can decide to coach your child through the situation, and ultimately, in the very rare circumstances where it just isn't working and your child is not thriving, we are so blessed to be in a community where there are so many other resources to educate your child.
Yeah.
So you really do have that choice in the end to do something completely new with your child. They're resilient.
Yes. Amanda, I appreciate you coming, being able to talk to us about this. Good to hear from a parent as well as a teacher, someone who has been on both sides of things, and reminding us of why we're all here to better our children. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Yes. If you want to read more of her blogs, we have a link at WTHR.com/Parent Squad. You can get some more info there. Thank you for joining us for this week's Parent Squad. We want to thank this week's contributors, Riley Children's Health, Indiana Youth Institute, and Indianapolis Moms. And we want to know what you want us to talk about. So if you have a topic that you would like to see on the show, just tell us. You can text SQUAD to 317-655-5740, and then we'll send you details. Or just email us at parentsquad@WTHR.com. Before we go, we always leave you with a word of inspiration, and this one is from former President Abraham Lincoln, who said, "I remember my mother's prayers, and they have always followed me. They have clung to me all my life." So always stay uplifted, parents. We'll see you next time.